Sarvani,
Hi
you
all,
can start.
I am Sarvani, and today we shall get familiarized with the quantum Stirling heat engine. We shall also have a look at how work and efficiency can be optimized with temperatures of the thermal baths. Uh, in this session, we shall review the recent study on the temperature dependence of the work and efficiency of a degeneracy assisted quantum Stirling heat engine that was carried out by Chandan Kumar, Argdeep Konar, Sohini Chatterjee, and myself. We shall discuss very basic concepts today, most of which you might already be familiar with. So feel free to ask questions anywhere you do not follow. We shall briefly review heat engines. Specifically, we shall be interested in the Carnot and the Stirling engines. Then we shall move to the main topic of today's discussion, that is the quantum Stirling heat engine. Uh, Here I shall very briefly show you the principal results that were obtained in the paper. So let's get started. Now, a heat engine is a system that converts thermal energy to mechanical energy. Uh, Familiar examples are the steam engines, gasoline and diesel engines, steam turbines that generate electricity, and so many more. Generally, we illustrate a heat engine using the energy reservoir model, which shows the engine connected to two thermal reservoirs, one of which is kept at a very high temperature, say TH, and is a constant heat source for the engine. The other reservoir is kept at a very low temperature, say TC, and is a heat sink. Um, Both these reservoirs should have an infinite heat capacity. Uh, it is actually the working substance of the heat engine that is responsible for absorbing the heat and doing the resultant work. The working substance can be in either gaseous or in liquid forms. So, the engine takes up energy from the source, uh, uses part of it to do some work, and dumps the remaining energy to the sink. Thus, after completing one full thermodynamic cycle, we can write the work output as the difference between QH and QC. Yeah, the efficiency of a heat engine is defined as the ratio of its output to its input. That is, work divided by the input heat gives us the efficiency for a heat engine. We should keep in mind that attaining 100% efficiency is not possible. Okay, so as we know, PV diagrams or pressure volume diagrams are a primary visualization tool for the study of heat engines. Uh, if the plot is a line uh, perpendicular to the volume axis, it is called isochoric. Since in this case, we have dV equal to 0. We also note that no work is done in an isochoric process. Now, if the plot is perpendicular to the pressure axis, it is called an isobaric process. And in this case, dP is equal to 0. A process where there is no change in temperature of the working medium is called isothermal, and the one involving no heat transfer is adiabatic. Both these processes have some work as output, And these are the four basic processes that are involved in any thermodynamic cycle.
Sarvani?
Yes.
Yeah, can I ask a very basic question? I am very new to this topic. So you mentioned isochoric processes, there is no work done.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you show that? I mean, how?
Okay. So we can say that work is proportional to the change in volume. And in isochoric, we can see that there is no change in volume. So work done will be zero here.
Yeah, but the formula that you have written, it shows it dependent on the heat exchange from the hot reservoir to the cold reservoir.
Yeah,
So is
there
there
will be
some
heat
correlation
exchange.
between that?
There will be heat exchange, no doubt, but there will be no net work done in an isochoric process.
So the amount of heat that it will take from the hot reservoir would be equal to the amount of heat it gives to the cold reservoir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move on. Now, the Carnot engine is an idealized model of a thermodynamic system for a heat engine. The working medium undergoes reversible isothermal expansion while at constant temperature TH. It is then followed by adiabatic expansion. This is when the temperature reduces from TH to TC. Then we have isothermal compression at TC, and finally an adiabatic compression to reach back to the initial state of the working medium. This completes one full Carnot cycle. Now the work output is the sum of the work done in all the four processes, and the efficiency is then equal to 1 minus Tc by Th. The Carnot engine is an ideal heat engine, so it has the maximum possible attainable efficiency. Now let us move on to the Stirling heat engine. It also has a 4-stage thermodynamic cycle associated with it, with the 2 adiabatic stages of a Carnot cycle replaced by the reversible isochoric processes. But since the 2 isochoric stages do not have any work output, the total work done in one full thermodynamic cycle shall be the sum of the 2 isothermal processes only. Now we have already discussed earlier that the Carnot engine has the maximum possible efficiency and is also an ideal theoretical heat engine. So we might expect the efficiency of the Stirling engine to be much less than the Carnot efficiency. But this is not the case. A Stirling engine has an inbuilt regenerator which increases the overall efficiency of the engine so much so that it becomes very close to that of the Carnot engine. A regenerator is basically an internal heat exchanger or a temporary heat store that is placed between the hot and the cold reservoirs. What it does is to simply retain some of the heat that would otherwise be dumped back to the cold reservoir as useless. This extra heat then gets converted into some additional useful work, enabling the thermal efficiency of the cycle to approach the limiting Carnot efficiency. Yeah. So, is there a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, please.
My question is that these are in classical Stirling engines. The efficiency is this. You said that efficiency is almost same as the Carnot engine. Is it theoretically or is it practically also possible?
Theoretically, this is absolutely true. Practically, it is possible because of the use of a regenerator. If we do not have a regenerator, then it will be much less than the Carnot efficiency.
So my question is that whether these engines are being used currently. Uh,
Okay, if you ask for experiments or in experiments, then definitely it will not be exactly equal because of various dissipative energies involved. So in an experimental setup, the efficiency will not be equal to the Carnot efficiency. And yes, Stirling engines are very well realized in daily life.
So I mean, it is being used in various scenarios. For example, thermal power plant generation. Because
Yes, absolutely. It can very well be used. Any more questions?
these can also, I mean, turn out on low temperature difference.
Yeah, regarding the temperature difference, we will see what happens at a later stage. I have a few plots that will explain that.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Till now, we were dealing with heat engines having gaseous or liquid working media. Now, what if we want to bring in some quantumness into picture? This we shall do by considering an ensemble of harmonic oscillators as the working medium for our Stirling engine. Later, we shall see what happens if we have a particle in a box as our working medium. Okay. So we are all well familiarized with a harmonic oscillator. It has equally spaced energy levels with a gap of h bar omega between any two consecutive levels. The 0 point energy is at half h cross omega, corresponding to the quantum number n equals 0.
Sarpani,
Yeah.
we have a doubt in the chat. Abdul has asked that can we simulate this through Qiskit?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Can we simulate this through Qiskit? At IBM Open.
Can we simulate the harmonic oscillator?
No, I guess.
Yeah, we can simulate
Stirling
the
engines,
harmonic oscillator, or we can simulate the heat engines very well.
Abdul, if you have a further doubt, you can unmute and ask this.
Okay, so moving forward. So now, what happens when we insert an infinite delta function barrier at the center of the harmonic oscillator? The potential of this new system changes as so, where P approaches infinity for an infinite potential barrier. We may very well derive the expressions for energy in this scenario, but for now, we shall look at a qualitative treatment for what exactly happens. When we insert an infinite delta function barrier at the center of the harmonic oscillator, it shall introduce a constraint on the probability amplitude of the wave function, such that it goes to 0 at the position where the barrier is inserted. The wave functions are modified so that they now have a node at the center. The barrier is inserted quasi-statically, and thus this process does not give rise to any change in the volume of the system. Now, the barrier being inserted exactly at the center of the harmonic oscillator will only affect the wave functions with even quantum numbers. Those with odd quantum numbers remain unaffected since they already have nodes at the center. This causes the even numbered states to rise up to the next odd numbered energy states. This gives rise to a twofold degeneracy. The new energy states of the system will then be n plus half h cross omega for odd values of n. Or equivalently, we can rewrite it as this. Okay, so now we shall move to the principal proposal of our paper, which is the study of a quantum Stirling heat engine with the harmonic oscillator as the working medium. Analogous to its classical counterpart, this too shall be a 4-stroke regenerative heat engine. Let our engine begin at stage 1 initially. Now, let us insert an infinite delta function potential barrier at the center of the harmonic oscillator in a quasi-static manner. We have just seen that this gives rise to degeneracy, as also can be seen here. The classical analog of this step is the isothermal expansion, which is shown by this red arrow. During this process, the harmonic oscillator is kept in contact with the hot reservoir so that it maintains a constant temperature throughout. Now we are at stage 2. Okay. After this, the harmonic oscillator is connected to a cold bath, which reduces the system temperature. This is analogous to isochoric cooling for the classical heat engine. This brings us to stage 3. In the next step, the barrier is removed quasi-statically, keeping the system in constant contact with the cold bath. At the end of this process, the energy spectrum becomes identical to what we had started with, and all degeneracies are lifted. Finally,
I have a doubt. Sorry, it's one thing. From 2 to 3, what did you do?
From 2 to 3, we are simply cooling down the harmonic oscillator. Nothing else.
Okay.
Sharvani,
Yes.
physically, what does it mean to add a infinite delta function in the harmonic oscillator potential?
Okay, so when we add an infinite delta function, we can see that it gives rise to degeneracies in the energy levels. So, and this degeneracy helps us in getting some work output.
No, but what does it actually? How do you achieve this physically? I mean, adding a a barrier in a harmonic oscillator.
Yeah, like adding an infinite delta function is practically not possible, which is very true. Like if we add a potential which is not infinite, suppose, so then we won't the energy levels won't exactly coincide, but we can see that like the ground state approaches the first excited state. So the energies of the two will be very close. So we can assume that they are sort of degenerate. But
Yeah,
in order for
that is fine. But I just wanted to ask, I mean, how do you physically implement this? I mean, are there mechanisms to do this, or is it a theoretical model?
This is just
to add that
model.
This is just a theoretical model. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
There's a
Sarvan,
question in the chat.
there's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Abdul is asking, what do you mean by quasi-static? Is it constant heat addition?
Yes, quasi-static means that any process which is constantly in equilibrium with the surroundings. So while you go forward with the process, you should ensure, and it is a super slow process. So each step of the process, you should ensure that it is in perfect equilibrium with its environment.
Great. We can move on.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay,
Not at the moment, looks like.
I think I was
Hello.
there with
Hello.
the.
I have a question. Hello.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. You said that during this quasi-static process, volume will not change
Yes.
from 1 to 2. So what does
What
it
we
mean? It
meant
is
was,
also an isochoric process.
no. It is not an isochoric
Which
process.
volume?
It is an isothermal process. It is
Right,
analogous to an isothermal process. What I meant by volume does not change is that
Yeah.
an addition of an infinite delta function will not change the volume of or inside the harmonic oscillator. You can say it will not change the frequency of the harmonic oscillator.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
but
process
Sharvani,
one.
won't the frequency be affected because there is now an additional node at the potential?
Yeah, there is an additional node, and this node will affect only the energy levels. So there will be change in the energies of the wave functions, and no other changes will be incorporated.
Yeah, but if you look at the ground state has no nodes. It has just a crest, right? But
Yeah.
once you introduce that potential barrier, it will now have a node and two crests.
Yeah, correct.
So the frequency has somehow changed, right?
Yes, and the effect of that will be that the resultant energy of that changes. So it means we cannot say that it is a ground state anymore. It is the ground state of our original harmonic oscillator anymore.
Is it
Yeah,
that
but
the omega does not change? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Is it?
absolutely.
Yeah. So the
okay.
h bar omega does not change.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So the effect is in the numbers.
Only
Number
in
of
the
particles.
Yeah, correct. Only in the
Okay.
functions, in the energies.
Okay.
I guess I had missed out the fourth process. So in the last process from 4 to 1, the system is detached from the cold bath and is reconnected again to the hot bath, which raises the system to its initial temperature. Now this completes one full thermodynamic cycle. Yeah. So let us have a look at the results that we obtained for the quantum Stirling heat engine with a harmonic oscillator as the working medium.
Sarbani, sorry, I have one more doubt actually. So when you are talking about this, when you say the temperature of the system, so are you considering the states to be thermal states? I mean, all the levels to be occupied with some population, proportional E per might be the.
No, actually, in this work, we were dealing with only the lower temperature limits. That is, only the lower energy levels were occupied.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but so how do you define the temperature of the system as the temperature of the bath, right? Which it's in contact with. Yes. So it's not, they are not really thermal states that I got.
No. It is from the bath.
Okay.
Let us now look at the results. So the first plot here shows how work changes with TH by TC. Here we have scaled work with KBTC, since it makes it easier for us to work in dimensionless units. The second plots frequency against TH by TC. Both these plots also include the effect of the frequency of the harmonic oscillator. Now, the extracted work is seen to increase from 0 and then becomes asymptotic in the high TH by TC limit. The efficiency, on the other hand, attains a maximum after going through a steep rise, but then gradually levels off asymptotically to 0.
I have one more, one more doubt. So
yes.
In this quantum case, how have you defined heat or work? Can you tell me that? Is it just the average value of the Hamiltonian? Something like that?
Yes, absolutely. It is the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So this behavior is in contrast with that of a classical heat engine, where we see the efficiency increases monotonically as a function of TH by TC, and it asymptotes to 1 for larger temperature ratios. The efficiency for a quantum heat engine is seen to approach the Carnot limit for small values of TH by TC. And this can be more easily seen from this plot here, where efficiency is normalized with the Carnot efficiency. Yeah, so both work and efficiency increase when the frequency of the harmonic oscillator increases. It is worth noting that when the frequency of the harmonic oscillator tends to 0, there is no work done. Because, like in this case, there will be no work done while inserting or removing the barrier. Now, any questions here? Okay, so let's move on. Next, we consider particle in a box as the working medium for our Stirling heat engine. Now, unlike the harmonic oscillator, the energy levels here are not equally spaced. Inserting an infinite delta function potential in this case will change the potential so that we have P times a delta function inside the box, where P again shall tend to infinity for an infinite barrier. Now, after the barrier is inserted, there will be constraints on the probability amplitudes of the wave functions to go to 0, as we had discussed in the harmonic oscillator case. But here, there will be a slight difference. Unlike the harmonic oscillator, the wave functions here corresponding to even quantum numbers already have nodes at the center. So these are the ones that remain unchanged here. The odd quantum numbered energy levels shall move up to the next even numbered levels, giving rise to a twofold degeneracy. Yeah. So again, we plot work and efficiency against TH by TC. Let us look at the first two plots here. Here, we vary the box length as some factor of lambda, where lambda is the de Broglie wavelength. We see that as length of the box decreases, both work and efficiency increase, and then attain a maximum for some particular Th by Tc value. For this working medium too, that is for a particle in a box, the efficiency approaches the Carnot limit for lower temperature ratios. Here, the black colored line shows the Carnot efficiency. Yeah, so let us now consider the limit of the length of the box becoming very, very large. The gap between two energy levels then shall approach zero, and we obtain a continuum of energy levels. Therefore, the particle will behave as a free particle, and the work needed to insert or remove the barrier will become zero, as is also evident from the plot. Yeah, okay. So now let us consider the symmetrical insertion of multiple barriers into the box. For simplicity, let us start with the insertion of two barriers symmetrically into the box of length 2a. This will divide the box into three equal parts of length 2a by 3 each. The energy levels, which already have nodes falling on the barrier positions, remain unchanged, while the others shift up to the nearest unchanged energy level. So each energy state, in our case, or in this example of two symmetrical barriers, shall now be threefold degenerate. Similarly, for the case of symmetrical insertion of n barriers, we obtain an energy level structure with n plus 1 fold degeneracy. Let us now look at these two plots here, where n is the number of barriers being inserted symmetrically into the box. We have fixed the length of the box to be equal to lambda by 3 to explicitly look at the effect of the addition of multiple barriers. Both work and efficiency are seen to increase when we add more number of barriers to the box. Further, the maxima as well as the zero as in where it cuts the x-axis, shifts to higher Th by Tc with greater number of barriers. So the insertion of multiple barriers makes it apparent that larger the degeneracy in our system, higher will be the work output and the efficiency. This in a way backs our proposal of a degeneracy assisted quantum Stirling heat engine. So yeah, and any questions till here, because we will be moving to the conclusion now.
So you say this is degeneracy assisted, right? So I understand like the degeneracies are created, but I have not really understood why it's assisting in a sense. Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I do. So here from the insertion of several barriers into the particle in a box, we saw that both work and efficiency increases with increase in number of barriers. So as we increase the number of barriers, the degeneracy will also increase. And we see that there is greater amount of work that we get as output, and also there is a higher efficiency. So we can say that higher the degeneracy, greater the greater efficiency our heat engine will have. So degeneracy in a way assists or makes our engine better.
Okay. Okay, maybe.
Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, so then let's conclude. In conclusion, efficiency attains a maximum value at certain temperature ratios for both the harmonic oscillator and particle in a box quantum Stirling heat engine. But we saw that work has maximum only for particle in a box as working medium and not for the harmonic oscillator as working medium. We also saw that the efficiency of a quantum heat engine approaches the Carnot limit at lower TH by TC temperature ratios.
Sarbani?
Yeah.
We have a doubt in the chat.
Yes.
So Abdullah has asked, can it be performed on other type of engines like external combustion engines? Maybe he was talking about the previous slides, I guess.
Yeah, it can be, I guess. Yeah. Here we have just considered a specific example for Stirling engine, but you can very well do it for any other engines.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, please continue.
A few references. So thank you. I hope you have enjoyed and also learned a few things from this talk. So thank you.
I will stop the recording here.